All right, welcome to the daily market recap for Monday, October 13th. In today's video, we'll be going over the action today of the indexes, the liquid leaders, industry ETFs, then end the video with long and short setups going into tomorrow, like we do with every daily recap. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the open and any trades that I personally take, you can sign up for the Market Pulse Discord using the link in the comment section. Starting off with the indexes, on Friday, the world was going to end. By Sunday night, everyone was calling for new all-time highs. We landed somewhere in the middle today. NASDAQ up 2.1%, getting back over the 20-day EMA with a nice big gap up. Closed right on the 5 in the 10-day moving averages. So now we've got a range to kind of play with. Things definitely got overheated to the upside. Everyone who kind of got long a little too late got flushed on Friday. Now we see, is this going to be a lower high or is this going to be a higher low overall? People can speculate all they want. I'm just going to be taking this day by day, but I also haven't really seen a market where we've gone through an acceleration phase where the market was already up about 40%, and then you go through a pull back to the 50, pull back to the 20, pull back to the 10, pull back to the 5, and then a distribution day like this that doesn't lead into a longer term correction. Not like a start of the bear market, anything like that, but usually like a 5 to 8 week sideways actions, lots of volatility before trending higher. S&P 500, similar action up 1.5%, not as strong as the NASDAQ because the AI boom is really pushing some of the stocks in the NASDAQ. S&P 500 closed right under the 20-day EMA, still under the 5 in the 10-day, but up 1.5%. IWO, this is what makes me the most bullish. The growth stocks of the Russell 2000 had a close under the 20-day moving average on Friday, followed it up by a large gap up that reclaimed the 5 and 10-day moving average, and then closed right back at Friday's opening price. And it makes sense. Like the smaller cap stocks were the easiest to move to the upside. So if people are going to kind of get shaken out and then go pure risk on mode, which they obviously did today, this is the type of action that you would expect to see. So really good action here. Whether that continues forward, that's my guess because a gap down or a close like this followed by a gap down and strong action, I don't see just immediately rolling over. But again, we'll take it day by day. ARKK up 1.4%, still under the 5 and the 10-day moving averages with a little gap up. This never broke under the 20-day moving average, so that's kind of my line in the sand. Friday's lows in the 20-day to see if buyers step in there. And then IBIT as a way to track Bitcoin, back over the 50-day moving average, but not as strong as IWO, not as strong as the NASDAQ, down 0.6% today. Getting to the liquid leaders, I definitely do need to replace Alibaba. So if you have any suggestions on which stocks to replace Alibaba with, close under the 20-day moving average. Nice response today after some of the Chinese tension between China and Trump kind of dissolved this weekend. It was up 4.9%, still under the 20-day moving average. My guess is MP is going to be the one to replace it. Really nice move today, up 21%. But if you guys have another stock that you'd like to see on the leaders list that makes sense, let me know in the comments and I'll kick Baba out for that. BE up 26% today, back, well, not back, for the first time over $100. Really strong action today. LEU, we saw nuclear stocks and uranium stocks really take off. So LEU, right in that theme, up about 10%. Closed kind of middle of the range, but the gap up was strong enough to keep it positive. Tesla, really good action. Ugly close under the 20-day moving average, followed by an unfilled gap up. Reclaimed the 5 and 10-day moving averages. Not much more you could have asked out of Tesla, up 5.4%. If we could get over this resistance gap, that would be ideal. And then kind of pull back higher low. I would be interested in playing that. We are getting a little close to earnings on October 22nd. So just keep in mind, we are in earnings season now. So make sure you know when your stocks report. NBIS, super clean action today, very tight, up 4.5% on a little gap up. I assume that this is going to resolve higher. Rocket Lab, a little bit weaker close compared to the rest of the index or the rest of the stocks in the index, but up 1.8%. This got a little extended in the short term, so any kind of pullback I think is buyable. KTOS inside day today closed over the 10-day moving average, up 1.7%. Robinhood, a lot of the crypto names were weaker, especially like the first half of the day. Kind of in the second half of the day, we saw some rallies out of like MSTR, BMNR, Robinhood. So undercut Friday's low, one of the only leaders that did that, reclaimed it, still closed under the 10 in the 5-day moving averages. So we'll keep an eye on that. Testing the 20-day moving average would be pretty interesting to see if buyers step in. Then AMD, a lot of the mega cap names were pretty heavy today. It's still up 0.7%, which is positive action. Um, but across the board, it was really like the small cap stocks that were rocking. I don't have any information on this, but I know banks were closed today. I wonder if that made any difference on like the types of stocks that money flowed into. Just easier to push up small speculative names versus like the mega caps. I don't know. That's just something that kind of came into my head today. Getting into the industry ETFs, the theme, metal and mining, precious metals, that's been the leader off the lows, continues to lead, really going parabolic here. We've seen above average volume the last 5 days as we go higher and higher and higher. Now, I'm not an expert on the trade war with China, but if Trump's tweet is correct and things are fine with China, wouldn't this start to reverse in a big way? Like if everyone's getting positioned long for all these metal and mining and precious metal stocks, and then nothing happens between the US and China, like getting long extended up here might not be the greatest idea. We'll see another like gap up extension bar and then look for a blow off top. MSOS cannabis ETF, nice inside day recapturing the 5 and the 10-day moving averages, up 6.3%. Nuclear and uranium stocks, new all-time high with the big gap up, kind of closed middle of the range, but I mean, for an ETF up 5.8%, that's pretty incredible action. Gold miners right back, closing at a new closing high, up 4.7%, back through the 5 and the 10-day moving average. After a couple of shakeout days, this looks ready to resolve higher. Semiconductors, what you want to see, big gap up, reclaim of the 20, reclaim of the 5 and the 10-day moving averages. Again, let's just see volatility contract, some higher lows being built, and then we can look to the upside. KWEB, Chinese Internet ETF, gapped up, reclaiming the 50-day moving average. Still needs like a lot of work, I think, before I get back into that name, but still a theme that I'll be looking at getting long eventually because it is kind of just pulling back after a breakout of a 3.5 year base. Usually those are good risk reward spots. Solar stocks continued higher, up 3.2% today, back over the 5 to 10-day moving averages with a nice gap up. The other group that I wanted to talk about is financials. Many banks will be reporting this week, and we didn't really see the type of like buyback that we saw in the rest of the market. Only up 0.95% today, still under the 5, the 10, the 20, the 50-day moving averages. Friday's action was like really, especially ugly for financials. So we'll see if some of those bank earnings can like get this going again. Otherwise, this is a lot of chop at highs and then a big distribution day, kind of a warning sign there. Home builders continues to be weak, just sitting on the 200-day moving average, which is declining. Biotech's not doing anything wrong, just consolidating here above the 5-day moving average. Getting into the long setups, I got 12 to go over. We'll go most liquid to least liquid. First one, BMNR. This is crypto related stock. We've got this overhead resistance gap that we failed at 3 times. So we know sellers are present at that area. We don't want to be buying into that area. We want to buy on a pullback, or a shakeout. We did get a little gap up today, testing that area, but especially the 50-day moving average and the support gap around 51.50. That's a spot that I'm going to be most interested in. It really kind of looks like the SMCI setup from 2024, where it had a big move. Now it's different, but had a big move and then multiple waves of contraction. This is a beautiful VCP pattern. I would just rather get in at a do or die spot, like right on the 50-day moving average, than trying to buy it on a breakout close to a resistance gap where we know sellers have showed up. CrowdStrike, not a company that I like. They canceled my bachelor party last year with their outage. So I hate the company. The stock is looking good right now, so I can't hate on that. Little uppercut and failure at the highs at the resistance gap, but really love the unfilled gaps to the upside. Tested the 20-day on October 7th, followed by a gap up. Ugly close Friday, followed by a gap up. Just looking for a pullback under the 10-day moving average into that 493 area as a higher low overall to manage against the 20-day moving average. Rocket Lab, one of the leaders, just consolidating over the 5-day moving average after a really big move up from 48 to 72. Pull back into the low of the gap here at 61.53. That would align with the 10-day moving average in a day or two. That's a spot that I would look to reignite the position at. ACHR, before some of the volatility, this was one of the better looking charts. And it, if you weren't aware of what happened on Friday, you would look at this chart and think nothing happened. Like this is a high ADR stock, so down 5.5% on the day isn't a big deal. Came into the support gap, the 10-day moving average bounced there. Good action today, closing above the opening price from Friday. I would love some more market turbulence to pull this back into the support gap, into the 10-day moving average, right around 11.55. Get that 20-day EMA a little bit more caught up so I can use that as a stop. Just buying on the breakout, it's doable. I just don't really want to chase anything at this point in the market. Pony, one of the better stocks that I've traded this year from this 1560 range. And then I did sell it on Friday with a close under the 20. Big gap up and nice consolidation here. We'll look to get back on it. It's like the one Chinese stock that I would like be most interested in getting back into. Break over today's high would be viable versus the 20-day EMA. It's a little bit wider, so I would like 1 or 2 more days tightening up before that happens. But a name that just broke out of a nice weekly base, pulled back to the 20-day moving average, and recovered way more than most Chinese equities. CRSP, this was on the watch list coming into the day at the 10-day moving average and support gap. Kind of just cut right through that area on above average volume. So didn't take that trade, but watching forward the 20-day moving average support gap right at 66.20-ish area. That would also be a little kind of breakout retest. PL, I think this is probably too early, but there's the gap at the 10-day moving average, which in an accelerated market, that's like where you can buy some of these stocks. I would rather let it like pull back a little bit more into the 1380, 1375 gap, let that 20-day EMA catch up. So I'm not buying it as extended. But this is a name with a ton of power. Had that, what was it, 45, 48% move on earnings, did an offering that got soaked up right away and then moved from 960 to 1650. So lots of power there. Lower price stock, but a lot of power is this DVLT. Lots of volume that came in on the pop here, pulled into the 5-day, pushed out of that range, got all the way up to like 320. Since then, very low volume pullback into the 10-day moving average. A couple different ways to play this is a gap down that reclaims today's low. That would be buyable versus the low of tomorrow. Otherwise, a gap up, opening range break, buyable versus today's low. I didn't cover ARKG, the genomics ETF, in the ETF list because it's on my long watch list. Came into that support gap, the 10-day moving average, inside day today. We saw some weakness out of like CRISPR, out of TEM, two stocks within that theme. So just looking for a shakeout of those lows, then a recapture of that area right at $30 as the entry. Stop would be below the low from October 7th. Poet, another name that has that kind of punch to it. Very high ADR name, up 23% one day, following through 17%. Then little 2-day pullback to the 10-day moving average, down 13% on Friday. Recaptured the HVC after testing the 10-day moving average. Came into the resistance gap, couldn't push it. That's fine. Not going to complain about a 10% up day. Now just looking for a pullback into that HVC area, right around $8, and then manage my risk against the 10-day moving average. TESM, this is another semiconductor name that I don't think is on a lot of people's radars. Just got the 200-day moving average sloping up about a month ago, so it's not extended overall in its trend. Pulling back into that 20-day moving average at 70.50 is the spot that I would be watching. You could draw a downtrend line here and just take it through today's high, which if the market's going to stay strong, that would be perfectly fine. Then your stop's at today's low and the 10-day EMA. But if the market pulls back a little bit more, then that 20-day is the spot that I'm watching. And finally, CLPT, another kind of healthcare related name, big move up 58% on September 24th. Tested the HVC 2 days, pushed it through, pull back in the 5-day moving average on declining volume, usually a great sign for continuation. And that's what we got, up 19%, another gap up, and now pulling back into that support gap, into the 10-day moving average. Undercut and reclaim of that $25 spot is the spot to watch. Then on the short side, we got MSTR. This, compared to Bitcoin, has been just extremely weak. This had a blow off top back in November of 2024 and has not recaptured that area since. Now we've spent months just kind of trading sideways, starting to look like this is about ready to enter its stage 4 decline, especially if Bitcoin has any weakness overall. Just looking for a day or two of a rally from Bitcoin, get this back up into the 10-day moving average, into the gap zone, right by the 20-day, right at this like 329 level, and then just manage risk against 337. RGTI, this is going to be a main focus for myself tomorrow. Beautiful, beautiful uptrend. Like definitely a chart to go back and study because it made a huge move, very similar to SMCI back in 2023 before the breakout in 2024. But a huge move from 76 cents to $20, then went sideways for basically 9 months, kept putting in higher lows on the 50-day moving average. And then once we started into this like pure momentum FOMO type market, that's the environment that these kinds of stocks can make massive moves, and it has from 15 up to 55 now, with a little pullback to the 10-day and the support gap. Great risk reward right at this area. Now we are getting extended to the upside. The 50-day moving average is at 25. So we're 100% over the 50-day moving average. The 200 days at $15. So whatever the quick math that would be. Now we haven't had the highest volume ever. We had the highest dollar volume ever today with a strong close, but it hasn't been the highest volume ever. And we only have one gap up. So I wouldn't be super surprised if we get another candle just like today where we gap up, killed the shorts again, up another like 20% or so, really push us into that like 67, 68 range. Because if we take a look at SMCI and we go back into that blow off top, very similar, like uptrend, multi-month base, higher lows on the 50-day moving average. This was one of my better trades that previous year. Surfs the 5-day moving average, and then it was really these two gaps here. I'll redraw them. So gap one, gap two, and then the third day we gap up, and that's when we get our big reversal. From high to low, this was about a 38% pullback in just 2 days into the 20-day EMA. Now, it did eventually go higher for about a week before flushing, putting in a stage 3 top, and then like completely giving back all those gains. Now, if we compare that to RGTI, RGTI has not had the highest volume ever yet. We only have one gap up. And structurally, like to me, this looks more like cleaner of a chart. And I think it's more hated because like the stock, the company doesn't actually make money. Like this is purely a momentum play. So I see a bunch of people posting on Twitter like, wow, you would make more money just like buying the stock than the company does. Yeah, it's like this is just momentum. This is just short squeeze, whatever you want to call it. But you don't want to fight price on this. So my game plan tomorrow is if we get a big gap up, three spots that I'll be watching for is the gap up. You reverse, you take out the daily view app. That would be the first spot that I would put a portion of my short on. We take out the low of the day, I would add to my short, and then on a green to red move, I would add a little bit more. And you're looking for enormous, enormous volume on the move through the view app, through the low, and it should be very linear. Like today's action, if you wanted to short RGTI, right away, like we had one candle up, one candle down on the 5 minute, and then we reclaimed the daily view app by the 15 minutes into the session, and then we ripped higher. That's what you want to avoid. So just stay on the side of the daily VWAP with your positioning on these extended names, and you're going to save yourself a ton of headache and have plenty of money to actually like ride the short down when it breaks to the downside. You do not want to fight this if we're staying above the daily VWAP. Now, a couple other quantum names still look relatively good. Like IONQ just took out the highs today on a first gap up. This could have another gap up or two before it's over. QBTS, new highs today, not overwhelming volume by any means. And then QUBT is kind of the weaker of the theme. Sorry. QUBT just reclaiming the 5 and the 10 day. So this is probably going to be an easier short to do, but RGTI, given how extended it is right now, I think it's going to pay out a little bit better if you can nail it. But again, like be patient, wait for your signals, manage your risk in real time. If it gets over the daily VWAP, don't fight it. Carvana up next. This dumped on Friday, like 7 or 8 tests of the 50-day moving average, broke it and a support gap on last Wednesday. Big flush on Friday, very little response today. A little rally back up into like the 5-day moving average, right around like 354 or so. Then you can manage risk against the 50-day moving average as you're short. CRML, excuse me, another one of these potential parabolic shorts. Huge move from $1 up to $23, multiple gap ups. This is kind of what I was like hoping to see out of RGTI. We're not quite there yet, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gap ups out of 8 days. Volume picking up on the upside. It's already up towards, let's see, after hours, it was trading at like 30. Yeah, right around 30 after hours. So we're getting a big gap up to $30. Similar similar setup, similar idea as RGTI for that parabolic short. UAMY, same exact thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unfilled gaps to the upside. Highest volume ever today. Another name that is gapping up overnight. This one's about at $20. So you have a round number to kind of manage risk against as well. Uppercut and failure of 20, just like a VWAP loss, a low of day loss, red to green move. That could be another spot to start to manage risk against. So RGTI, UAMY, and CRML. Oh, and I got one more. CCX or CCCX. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unfilled gap ups in 7 different trading days. This volume hasn't peaked just yet, so it's lower on my focus list than UAMY, and CRML. But very similar idea. Went from $10 up to 25. Not as extended, so not like my main focus. LIF, this is a software name. First unfilled gap down October 7th. Sideways action week, yes, on Friday. And then today, taking out Friday's low, taking out the 20-day moving average, down 1% while the market's rocketing higher. That's huge signs of relative weakness. Little uppercut and failure of the 20-day EMA would be shortable. Otherwise, through today's low is the other short spot. Either way, high of the day, 5 and the 10-day EMAs would be the stop. MMYT, this is a slower mover, but I'm very confident that this is starting to roll into its stage 4 decline. You have your big stage 2 uptrend, big stage 3 base, multiple tests of the declining 200-day moving average, one support gap zone to go before this flushes from $91 to $76. Now, this does have earnings estimated on October 21st, so manage your risk accordingly with position sizing, but I think this is ready to roll over. REZI, this is a buildings product, so relatively weak theme at this point, but one of the leaders that is just starting to roll over now, from 14 up to 43, then kind of stalled at highs here. Like we made new highs, but we never like pushed through, which is usually not a great sign. Then we lost the 10-day moving average, bear flag, pushed through the 20-day, and then weakness today. Through the low on Friday would be the short entry, stop at today's high and the 10-day moving average. Then last is ZEPP. This is a thinner stock, so you have to size it way down. But another name that went from 20 up to $60. Big distribution bar, biggest in the entire upcycle, down 21% through the 5, the 10, the 20-day moving average on above average volume on Friday. Today, it had a little rally back near those highs and then closed right back under the 5 and the 10-day moving averages. Through today's low would be the entry stop just above the 5-day moving average. So that's going to be the daily market recap for Monday, October 13th. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the open and any trades that I personally take, you can sign up for the Market Pulse Discord using the link in the comment section. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video.